by Roger Hargreaves. Mr. Greedy sat down and Mr. Greedy was having lunch, and then he sat down in this kitchen and went to sit down in his chair, and when there was a knock at the door. Knock, knock. Mr. Greedy rushed in to see who was there, and he grabbed the door handle and opened it, and someone came rushing all around. And somebody just came and just to Mr. Greedy's food and just got all his food and ate it up. Thanks, Tommy! Mr. Greedy just couldn't believe it. Mr. Greedy just couldn't believe his eyes. Now you would know that somebody who was eating Mr. Greedy's stuff was like Cheeky. And who is Cheeky? I can tell you, Mr. Cheeky. Mr. Cheeky was the cheekiest person you ever likely to meet, in which he ate Mr. Greedy's food, of course. He walked out from Mr. Greedy's house. That morning, he met Little Miss Neat. Would you like to paint the fence with me, Mr. Cheeky? Asked Little Miss Neat. Mr. Cheeky painted Little Miss Neat's glasses. Thanks for asking. He said. Little Miss Neat just couldn't, Little Miss Neat lost her words. Just after, Mr. Cheeky met Mr. Nosy. Can you help me take this bandage off my nose? He asked. Do it. Ow, this gets. And then, you know what he did? He said, no, do it yourself, big nose. Said Mr. Cheeky. Mr. Nosy lost his words. Mr. Cheeky went to town and went into the shops. There he met Mr. Small. Can you tell me, sir, can you tell me if I can just, be with you for a while until this line ends? Do it yourself. Just wait, Smalley, said Mr. Cheeky to Mr. Small, and stuck his tongue out. And then Mr. Small lost his words. Mr. Cheeky went off. Mr. Muddle asked him to tell where the bakers were. Oh, the bakers! I'm not telling you, muddly pants. And Mr. Muddle said, all right. Maybe, which way was it again? Mr. Muddle just couldn't. Mr. Muddle lost his words. That evening, Little Miss Neat met Mr. Greedy and Mr. Muddle. Mr. Cheeky had to be taught a lesson, said Little Miss Neat. Yes, said Mr. Greedy. Definitely yes, said Mr. Muddle, who was asked muddily, as usual. And I just know that perfect little person, said Little Miss Neat. The very next day, Little Miss Bossy went over to Mr. Cheeky's house. I've come to visit, said Little Miss Bossy. Go away, Bossy Boots, said Mr. Cheeky. Be kind, please, yelled Little Miss Bossy. Mr. Cheeky lost his words. Mr. Cheeky was sad a bit and miserable. Can you just go away? Said Mr. Cheeky. The Little Miss Bossy. Don't you, I tell. Please can you just wash the dishes for a while? You didn't say please, said Mr. Cheeky. Please clean the dishes for me, please. I know I said please, said Little Miss Bossy. Observed Little Miss Bossy. Mr. Cheeky just didn't know what to say. After the whole day, Mr. Cheeky had to do whatever Little Miss Bossy told him. It's time to lower the grass, observed Little Miss Bossy. Suddenly, Mr. Cheeky couldn't just speak anymore. He looked down, sad and miserable, and said, "No, I wish I was a cheeky." And so Little Miss Bossy just always said something that Mr. Cheeky didn't know what to just say. Wrong, wrong, wrong! Wrong, 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 wrong! At the end of the story, Mr. Cheeky wasn't cheeky anymore. In fact, he wasn't cheeky. He just liked to not be cheeky and be nice. And he apologized to Mr. Greedy and Little Miss Neat and Mr. Muddle. Well, I think it worked, said Little Miss Neat. Little Miss Bossy said, I think I helped a bit. Then they all had cookies. The following morning, Mr. Cheeky was just sitting down to have his breakfast when there was a knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock! Mr. Cheeky went right up to the door, and before opening, Little Miss Bossy said, Little Miss Bossy said, I come to visit. Go away, Bossy Boots, said Mr. Cheeky. The door swung open. That's right, cried Little Miss Bossy. If you be cheeky every game, I'll come to visit some more, Mr. Cheeky. Oh no, not more visiting. Well, I learned my lesson now. Who is Mr. Cheeky? But Mr. Bear and Little Misses are 30 years old. And Roger Hargreaves and Adam Hargreaves decided they had birthdays, and so they made birthday books like Mr. Birthday and Mr. Perfect Story and Little Miss Birthday, lots of kinds. And they had whole birthday parties. And Roger Hargreaves' son Adam made this book of Roger Hargreaves, and they even had a contest to who makes Mr. Cheeky the better, like colouring book. And there was a competition at the Mr. Mad as well, and the winner of the day was Mr. Cheeky. And this was this, and then they sold their books to the audience, and the audience cheered and cheered and cheered for them. They were the same books, so not really surprising. Well, what makes Mr. Cheeky special? Mr. Cheeky was in the Mr. Man competition, which I told you in the last page, and then he did all sorts of things like eating Mr. Greedy's lunch and painting Little Miss Neat's glasses with white paint and not doing Mr. Nosy's bandage for him a bit because it was just better. And so the Mr. Mans and Little Misses are really like fun books. So that's why they just made the Mr. Cheeky book, which I have right now, or you and I, yours, everybody. The books were made in W.H. Smith, and they were made for children,